Okay.
No, you start there.
Okay.
No, you have to start with the first item.
Okay. All right, everyone, we're going to get right into things now. Clerk, would you report on the certification of election and qualification of councilperson-elect George?
It's my pleasure to report that the Middlesex County Board of Elections has certified the elections of Philip George as a member of the Borough Council of the Borough of Highland Park. Once he has subscribed to the oath of office and allegiance, he is qualified to assume his duly elected position on the governing body. That's for Doug, actually.
Okay. And I do want to note that we are delighted to have with us tonight Senator Deignan and Assemblywoman Pinkin joining us. And Senator Deignan, would you step up to swear in our Councilman George?
Full disclosure, I've known this guy my whole life. And he falls into that category of a blue guy.
And my family will have you. I, Philip George,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of councilperson
of the office of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Clerk, would you report on the official election results?
I received the official election results from the County of Middlesex for the general election held on November 8th, 2016. The late Councilman John Erickson was re-elected for a 3-year term. As a result of the death of Mr. Erickson, there is a vacancy on the council. Pursuant to the New Jersey Vacancy Act, NJSA 40A:1611, the Highland Park Democratic Municipal Committee has advised that it will not be submitting nominees to fill the vacancy. Consequently, the Borough Council may fill the vacancy. Are there any nominations to fill the vacancy?
I make a nomination that Matt Hirsch be appointed.
I'll second that.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Do we do the resolution first?
You just did.
Okay.
Now you're going to swear in.
I'm delighted to have been asked by soon-to-be Councilman Hirsch to swear him in this evening. Thank you.
Look at that dress. I know.
I, Matthew Hirsch,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially, and justly
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties of the office of councilperson
perform all of the duties of the office of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
and
and to the governments established
to the governments established
in the United
in
States
the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
That was accurate.
Yes.
What a good job.
Okay, I'm now going to call the meeting to order. This meeting will be called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on December 21st, 2016, and was posted on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue on December 21st, 2016, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to my left and to my right. If you come up to speak, please speak into the microphones, and assistive listening devices are available. Christine, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'm honored to ask Rabbi Reed, who is the rabbi at Hillel, to give us an invocation.
I'm Rabbi, is this on? Mm-hmm. Okay. Rabbi Esther Reed. I work at Rutgers University Hillel, and I live here in Highland Park. O source of life, who brings forth new life through your creative process, bless and protect the newly elected council members and all the residents of our fine borough. Teach us to recognize that every human being was created in your image. At a time of division in our nation, help us honor you by honoring one another. As Rabbi Jonathan Sachs said, so that by reaching out in love, we may turn enemies into friends and become your family on earth as you are our parent in heaven. O Holy One, bless this council and guide their deliberations, that they may serve with wisdom and justice, grace and compassion for the betterment of this borough, this nation, and the whole world. And let us say amen.
Amen. Thank you. Beautifully done. Thank you. Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Mayor Burl Mittler,
Here.
Councilman Fine,
Here.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin,
Here.
Councilman George,
Here.
Councilman Hirsch,
Here.
Councilman Walsh,
Here.
Councilwoman Welkowitz,
Here.
Borough Administrator,
Here.
Borough Attorney.
Here.
I'm privileged tonight to introduce our newest council member and our returning council member. Council member Phil George has served on the council now for how many years is it, Councilman?
Since August of 2014.
Okay, so 2 years and a half. And he has served us as liaison to our Economic Development Committee very well. He has worked very hard with us on pulling together a traffic study and has headed up a parking task force for us, which will hopefully yield us some additional revenues in the future once we all take a look at it. And under his guidance, the Economic Development Committee has moved forward in many different ways, and I'm delighted that you'll be remaining on council with us, Councilman George.
Thank you, Mayor.
And Councilman Hirsch, you're a very familiar face in Highland Park, though this is the first time that you will be serving on council since you took over the position of Councilman Erickson, who we sorely miss. But we're delighted to have you join us. Matthew Hirsch has served the municipality in many different functions. When I first became involved with council, he stepped up to put together our communications team, the results of which you all see in your inboxes. And in your mailboxes as well, with the Highland Park News, the e-news, Nixle messaging, Facebook postings. And Matt, you've worked also diligently on the Housing Authority and helped with the development of our ID program here, and I'm delighted that you'll be joining us up here again.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution to adopt the rules of order for 2017?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to adopt the mission statement for the Borough of Highland Park?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay. Council members, may I have a nomination for President of the Council for 2017?
Yes, Mayor. I nominate Councilmember Susan Welkowitz to serve as our Council President for 2017.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Do we do a roll call on that?
No, make a motion that nominate. You read that.
Motion.
Okay. Councilman Fine nominated Councilperson Welkowitz. May I have a motion that nominations be closed and 2017 Council President elected by acclamation?
I would so move.
Second.
Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to establish the 2017 standing committees?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Clerk, could you please report on notification from the Volunteer Fire Department of the election of a new fire chief, assistant fire chiefs, and captains, along with the 2017 roster?
The general meeting of the Highland Park Volunteer Fire Department held on Tuesday, December 6th, held the election of officers. They elected Jay Lippman as chief. There are no assistant chiefs. For company number 1, there's Captain Mike Kersey. Company number 1, Lieutenant Hector Malave. Company number 2, Lieutenant Michael Gershon.
Okay. May I have a motion to confirm the election?
Motion to confirm.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Is the new fire chief here?
He is not here. Is anyone here from the fire department? Just,
Have a doctor-funded university.
Okay, thank you. So what do we do, Clerk?
well, you just won't be swearing at him at this meeting.
Okay. So just so everyone knows, I will not be able to swear him in tonight, and we'll make another time for that. Okay, it's time for our annual council reports. Do you have any particular order that you wanted us to report in? Okay, then what I will do is we'll start on my left, work our way down, and then finish with Council President Welkowitz. Okay, Councilwoman Foster Dublin, would you like to report?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. It was a busy year for all, and especially in our public safety department. And the reports are as follows. 2016 Highland Park Police Department responded to 18,995 calls per service. Officers made 215 arrests and issued 4,700 motor vehicle summons and 165 local ordinances violation. In addition to routine training mandated by the New Jersey State Attorney guidelines, all police department employees receive cultural sensitivity training in areas such as African American culture, LGBT culture, and the South Asian women's culture. Cultural sensitivity training sessions was conducted by volunteers from various law enforcement agencies and civilian groups. Over the several years, the police department employees have also received similar training in Muslim, Asian Indian, Orthodox Jewish, and Chinese culture, and it welcomes volunteers from other cultures who may be interested in conducting educational seminars as well. Our police department continues to enhance the culture of community policing in 2016. 2 new bicycles were added to the fleet this past year, thereby allowing our officers to visit places that the patrol car can't have access to. Along with a motorcycle patrol and pediatric walk-in beats, officers are better able to interact with our community and to be more personable and be approachable. This past August, the police department sponsored its annual National Night Out celebration with the goal of community policing and mixing and mingling our police officers with our residents in order to unite against fighting crime. This event saw hundreds of people attended. They enjoyed lots of free food, refreshment, games, entertainment, such as raffles, flat screen TV sets, iPads, and gift certificate. All the prizes were made available by the generous donation of our local businesses. Other community-related sponsored event by the police department included the Junior Cadet Police Academy that was conducted for 1 full week during the summer. This popular program, spearheaded by our youth officer, Joe Corbello, provided the students in the 6th through 8th grades the opportunity to learn about police procedures while interacting and getting to know their police officers. This position of youth officer was created last year, and now our police officer, Officer Joe Corbello, has been dedicated as an issue dedicated to issues involving juvenile justice. We have received many positive feedback about this position thus far, and plans are on the way to construct a senior youth center on 6th Avenue and Benner. This will be a place where juveniles can meet, mix, and mingle after school and have activities. The police department also led the law enforcement against drug campaign. Curriculum was made for the 6th through 8th grade students in the Borough School. While the students receive valuable information on drug abuse, they also develop a long-lasting rapport with the officers and are more comfortable in approaching them whenever they are in need. Another popular program was a pediatric rewards program for children. They would receive free ice cream or pizza if they were caught wearing their helmets. However, if they were caught not wearing their helmet, they would be given a free one, which was a courtesy of the AA, Automobile Association of America. So if you don't have a helmet, you can always stop a police officer and you'll receive a free one. The police department, in conjunction with the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, conducted Operation Take Back in May and in October. A large quantity of unwanted or expired prescription drugs were able to be deposited in a safe manner. In 2016, we saw the retirement of two of Highland Park long-serving officers. Officer Sergeant Joseph Arelas retired in June 2016 after 25 years of service, and Captain Golden retired in December after 31 years of service. 3 new police officers were hired and graduated from the Morris County Academy in November. They are Shade Eden, Joseph Alera Jr., son of retired Officer Joseph Alera Sr., and Brian Fitzgerald, grandson of retired Highland Park Police Officer Evelyn Fitzgerald. All 3 officers are currently on the road with their field training officer. In order to meet our newly adapted state mandate security procedure, the police department held a Class 2 special law enforcement officer, hired a Class 2 law enforcement officer in June. James Feaster, who is retired from the New Brunswick Police Department, has been hired for the position and has proven to be effective and serve as a cost-serving method. A new police department record clerk was hired in July. Her name is Megan Barry. Finally, the police department acquired 18 body cameras this past year with a grant that was funded through the federal grant. Half the grant was funded through a federal program. All police officers are now equipped with body cams, in addition to patrol vehicles that are equipped with dash cameras. This will enhance the police department's ability to continue serving Highland Park in a professional and a transparent manner. Highland Park Municipal Court. Traffic fines were 4,672. Criminal complaint was 156. 4 cases were sent for mediation program, and 25 weddings were performed. A total of 126.5 hours in session. With the new state law in effect, effective January 1st of this year, for criminal justice reform and bail reform, there were plenty of preparation that had to take place in 2016. Tracy Horn, CMCA, attended multiple training and teaching sessions throughout the year and spent more than 31 hours training for these changes. Linda Simon, DCA, attended training for the reform and will attend more training earlier on this year. Nicole Marquez, violation clerk, has completed half her classes required by the Administrative Office of Court accreditations. She will complete the other half this year. Nicole has been a great addition to our court system. Office of Emergency Management. We are in the process of obtaining an SUV vehicle for OEM department to serve primarily to transport our CERT team, our community response team members, through emergencies in the borough. This vehicle was obtained at no cost to the borough and was given by the county, Middlesex County. The team responded to 2 major fires in the borough and assisted with confronting and sheltering the residents and assisting them at the scene. The team also participated in street fairs, 4th of July celebration, art festival, and providing patrol services at many of our local events. Our first aid squad. Over the year, the first aid squads have answered 1,100 calls, 5 of which were CPR saves. They They were present at many significant Highland Park fires last year, and their whole goal was to keep firefighters safe and residents safe and healthy as well. They have approximately 35 members on board, and they are looking forward to continue to serve the borough of Highland Park. Our fire department answered 511 calls last year, 7 large fire calls, and 9 smaller fires. They had 3 new members adapted to the fire department, and they are anticipating many more to participate in many more events throughout the year in Highland Park. At this time, I would like to take a moment to thank all the members of the public safety team for keeping our town safe. And I would also like to take a moment to thank all our employees for all that they do to make Highland Park a great place to live and work. I wish you all a happy and prosperous 2017. God bless. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Fine?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. In 2016, as chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, I had the great opportunity to work with volunteers who are dedicated to enhancing the quality of life in our wonderful borough. To recap 2016, in January, the Human Relations Commission, under the leadership of Ashton Burrell, ran a spectacular event in honor of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, which featured a keynote speaker, Sarah Collins Rudolph, the fifth little girl, the only survivor of the 1963 bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Alabama. In February, the Borough Council adopted a resolution sponsored by the Health and Human Services Committee urging our state lawmakers to enact legislation banning the transfer and possession of all .50 caliber firearms in New Jersey. In April, due to the work of the Mayor's Wellness Campaign and its chair, Dr. Clifton Lacey, the Borough of Highland Park was designated as New Jersey's first heart-safe municipality, with donated automated external defibrillators in key places and the number of CPR trained individuals we have throughout the borough. As a heart-safe community, we are in a solid position to promote survival from sudden out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. In May, the Mayor, Council, and the Mayor's Wellness Campaign celebrated this new designation and the enhancements to our community preparedness through a borough-wide educational event at Borough Hall. In June, the Highland Park Board of Health and its chair, Diane Heimlich, helped introduce an ordinance to license establishments that sell electronic smoking devices, which was adopted by the council. The annual license fee is $600. The license fees collected are already being used to fund educational anti-smoking programming in Highland Park. The Human Relations Commission had its annual 9/11 Day of Discussion Task Force, chaired by Greg Trevor and Allison Salerno. The task force organized and conducted a successful and well-attended program titled Destigmatizing Mental Health Care, Remembering September 11th with a Day of Discussion in Highland Park, which was held at the Highland Park High School cafeteria on September 11th. The Highland Park Free Public Library, which continues to be a vital community center for every Highland Park resident, was open more often in 2016. In addition to its regular hours, the library was open on Saturdays and Sundays from September through December for the first time in 5 years. The Highland Park Food Pantry, under the leadership of Janice Ballew and the heads of the food pantry subcommittees, superbly provided food for over 300 families in Highland Park in 2016. The Commission on Universal Access, under the leadership of its chair, Diane Feldman, addressed handicapped parking spaces, reaching an invisible community, and advocated for an inclusive playground to be built in Highland Park. In 2016, the Highland Park Housing Authority continued to seek financially prudent ways that will enable it to make necessary upgrades and improvements to the 124 affordable housing units it is responsible for managing. In November, the Health and Human Services Committee was responsible for the introduction of an ordinance to create a Highland Park identification card program, which was spearheaded by Councilman Matt Hirsch. The ordinance creating a municipal ID card program was adopted by the council in December, and the borough will continue to work with the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice to implement this important program in 2017. Finally, please know that I remain committed to enhancing the quality of life of Highland Park residents, exploring ways to stabilize property taxes, encouraging mixed-use development in downtown Highland Park, and focusing on preservation to protect our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fine. That was a wonderful, concise summary of the year's events for your committee. Thank you. Okay, Councilman Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The success we've experienced over the last year is in no small part due to the leadership of Kim McGraw, Andrea Bay, and Pandora Scooter. The leadership of these women is tirelessly administered quality programming for borough residents of all ages. The Office of Aging has had a wonderful year. The productive year for the Highland Park Senior Center was realized with over 1,500 senior members registering with our Senior Center, including members who participated in various programs to utilize our transportation services, access to social workers on staff throughout the year. And we also have programming that's so amazing that seniors from outside of the Highland Park come to utilize our Senior Center. One of the major goals of that I was set out with this year was to improve the quality transportation, and Kim has done an amazing job making sure that's been carried through. The Highland Park senior members now have access to free local transportation all around town, Mondays through Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., Tuesdays 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Fridays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Medical appointments out of town through Middlesex County are also available Mondays through Thursdays from 9 to 2:30. On average, our town transportation services provide between 15 to 25 rides per day, an invaluable service for many seniors who may have no other ways to get to their medical visits. We also have a variety of programs that our seniors enjoy, everything from body retrofit, chair yoga, healthy bones, and healthy ease. These programs, and many of these programs are free to our members, and they're enjoyed on an ongoing basis throughout the year. We also at the Senior Center provide ESL classes that include conversational Chinese as well as a Yiddish group that's very largely well attended. And in 2017, we plan to implement a conversational Spanish classes. On July 14th, we hosted our 12th annual Dancing Under the Stars Senior Prom. This evening that really everyone looks forward to at the Senior Center, which incidentally many of our seniors refer to as the Country Club. Over 140 participants danced the night away and enjoyed a sit-down candlelit dinner. Our special guests were members of our very own police department, Borough Hall staff, and members of the Borough Council. They assisted with dining and serving and dancing. At the end of the night, when the polls were all in, Carl and Carol Wilson were crowned the 2016 Prom King and Queen. And this was made possible through a Highland Park Municipal Alliance grant. Our movie program has also been another big hit in the Senior Center, with an average of 20 to 30 seniors attending each movies that show 2 to 3 times per month. And we've also had these programs beyond the leadership of our Council on Aging and Kim. We've had tremendous support from a number of local businesses, from Apastos and Dunkin' Donuts and El Sol, Park Deli, Pathari Tavern, Salt and Walk, Ruthie's Bakery, and Stop and Shop, all help to contribute to monthly luncheons and programs throughout the year. And so we owe a great deal of support for them. There's also a number of other programs and services that we provide for our seniors, everything from monthly blood pressure clinics to barbering services, stroke screenings, and farmers market vouchers to help assist those who need resources to make their ends meet for their food and make sure they have access to fresh produce. The Senior Center programs that sorry, I'm going to move through this. In 2017, we'll be implementing a new lunch program on Tuesdays starting in mid-January. We'll be having hot, nutritious lunches. These meals will include entrees, salads, and desserts. The Senior Center will be partnering with the Jewish Family Service in Middlesex County Orchard and Metuchen to provide these lunches, and asking only for a small $5 contribution per meal. And we're currently in the bid process for a new ADA accessible minivan for senior medical rides, which will further improve our transportation options for seniors. And we're working to start an updating the Senior Youth Center with a fresh coat of paint, hopefully this year, and new lobby furniture, hopefully, and blinds and windows to help get the Senior Center looking great. The Recreation Committee, with the leadership of Andrea Bay, also had an amazing year, offering various programs, activities, and events that appeal to a wide range of people throughout the community. We had over 1,800 participants and their families in our recreation programs and activities. The youth sports programs were a tremendous hit, offering a number of programs such as flag football, tennis, track and field, and spring soccer clinics. We also offered table tennis for youth, adults, chess classes, juggling, and a very popular theater youth program. Two of the programs that I would like to highlight this year that were a tremendous success are the Independence Day firework event and the holiday dinner. The annual fireworks event brought out thousands of local residents to Donaldson Park for an evening of music, activities, food, and fireworks. We had local vendors, presentations by youth, adult groups, bands that played until dark when the sky lit up with a beautiful firework presentation. The holiday dinner this year was enjoyed by over 100 residents who had a 4-course dinner including fresh baked breads, fresh tossed salads, turkey, fresh vegetables, and assortments of baked goods and desserts. I would like to thank the many volunteers and sponsors that make each year's Christmas dinner a wonderful event. And in addition to the fantastic dinner, guests were also able to enjoy live music and a visit from a special guest, Santa Claus. And we also have 2 vacancies on the Rec Advisory Committee, so if anyone's interested in participating in that, please get in touch with me or Andrea Bay, and we can talk about putting you onto the committee to help build out these programs in the next year. The Art Commission was newly constituted this year, and to date we have 6 of the 7 total seats filled with very active members who represent a diversity of Highland Park community as well as the diversity of art forms that we can all experience. We're in the process of pulling together an art inventory which will include an art event calendar, art resources in Highland Park, and in the new year we plan to create a specific page on the Borough website where this and other great information on the arts can be found. We held our first multi-day art workshop for the Art Commission this fall. The art workshop centered on improvising, and they were divided into 4 sessions that covered the topics of thinking on your feet, collaboration, building off of others, building and freeing your imagination. Working off this success, the Art Commission won a grant from Middlesex County Cultural Commission to do an 8-work spoken word workshop this spring. We also hosted our first storytelling night entitled How I Got to Highland Park with the Highland Park Public Library. This great event offered an amazing opportunity for residents to learn from each other and share a little about themselves. We also offered smaller workshops at Arts in the Park where we taught basic skills related to music, improv, and drawing. We also have initiated an artist survey, which is very important to finding out the needs of the art community. We'll be presenting these findings to the planning board, but the major need identified by survey participants is a community art space for performance and visual arts. We also started an amazing relationship this year with Mason Gross and Rite Aid Pharmacy with our window art project, where every quarter there'll be new art exhibits going up in the windows, contributed by local Rutgers students. There's a second exhibit up now. I'd encourage everyone to go and check that out before it's switched out in the spring. And finally, we're also moving forward with plans to build a sculpture project in Donaldson Park. We've identified several locations that we believe suitable for permanent sculptures, but found through this process there are many questions we still have to answer, ranging from what materials are suitable to how do we keep our sculptures from floating away in an area that floods regularly. We're working to form a partnership with Middlesex County and Rutgers to host a temporary sculpture pilot project this summer. We hope this project will engage emerging students and art students to help answer questions that we need about that we have about the logistics for installing permanent art sculptures in Donaldson Park. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman George, would you report to us?
Thank you, Mayor, I will. But first, I would like to thank Senator Deignan, Assemblywoman Pinkin for coming to our installation, as they always do. And I know that Assemblyman Karabanchik is attending other reorganizations, but I would also like to thank him for the discussions he's had with me on the areas in the rehabilitation designation. 2016 was an active year. You may not have noticed it in the areas of redevelopment, zoning, and planning because of the clamor of the 2016 presidential election. But we made a lot of significant strides this year with regard to what I laughingly refer to as the dark side. You hear about all of the other programs that are beneficial, and you don't hear or see or think you don't hear or see too much about redevelopment. But that has been changing. It changed a lot in 2016 and more to come. As the mayor mentioned, we did a parking study group. I won't go through the details of that. We're almost complete with our work. One of the things that we did was to prepare a primer. Jeff Perlman, who from Main Street, was very much of great assistance in doing that. And we did that because contemporary parking is very sophisticated, is very revenue driven, is one of the few big revenue streams besides taxation, and it's a user-based tax. Not everybody shares it. You use the service, you pay for the service. In fact, Senator Duggan and I worked on a bill that the legislature passed to amend the redevelopment law to allow parking authorities to be municipal redevelopers, because of all the redevelopers in the Redevelopment Act, they're the only ones with a positive revenue stream. As he said to me in a very sophisticated comment, quote, "It's a no-brainer." The other thing that we did was to appoint some of our worst critics from our population as members of the board. And not out of spite, but out of engagement, they've become the most active members of our committee, contributing quite a lot. Now, we have other members, Mr. Brescher, our code official, Superintendent Risch are also on the board and have contributed their parts to the final report, which is in preparation. But by bringing in citizens with real parking concerns, one with a business right downtown and the other being a property manager whose property is right downtown, we got some new insights and they got some new insights, and things really happened. Another thing that happened in relation to parking, and not in my particular area redevelopment, but in overall redevelopment and the changing way we're doing business in Highland Park. So the mayor and I took a walk with a bunch of residents as a result of a tragic incident, but it related directly to parking and also redevelopment in areas that consider themselves either abandoned or ignored by Highland Park. And we solved a lot of problems just by walking around and just by talking to people. And we solved most of those problems with no cost or minimal cost. And this was in the area of Lexington. It was suggested the traffic was so bad there, and, quote, "you don't know because you're not here," to change it to one way. There were no sidewalk demarcations there because the old buildings had built right out to the curb. We simply remarked them with cautionary paint. And then the commercial landowner said, "You know what? If we change to diagonal parking instead of head-on parking, we free up more sidewalk space and we control the way the traffic enters and exits with those horrible 50-foot-long curb cuts." So that was an accomplishment that was just getting out there and talking to people, and I thank the mayor for starting that. As a result of several long-running conversations with the redevelopment agency concerning problems implementing our redevelopment plan due to its old scattered site format, in particular with Randy Solomon of the Redevelopment Agency, in a series of conversations at public meetings, we began the process to adopt a designation of the borough as an area in need of rehabilitation, which was just finalized December. This project involved a lot of people in Highland Park. It involved a number of public hearings, including at the Redevelopment Agency, separate charrettes demonstrating over in the viability of the plan and what it could do for us over in the Senior Center, 2 planning board hearings where the planner testified, and we discussed what rehabilitation would do for us, and that, as you know, is passed, and it's now in effect in Highland Park. One of the things that grew out of the discussions, in particular at the planning board and then in informal discussions with the planner, was that a screening committee be formed. And this is a new concept. Now, a lot of cities and towns have their own special designated redevelopment offices, but the screening committee is formed of the board chairs and a designated member of each of the boards with responsibility for redevelopment in Highland Park. Planning, zoning board, redevelopment agency, and Main Street. And the thought process is when a developer comes in with a project, however it's referred, the planner, the borough's planner is the portal. He gets the plan first and has the preliminary discussions, even if it's nothing more a sketch on a cocktail napkin, to say, this is viable, this is not, here's some concerns. And then it goes to the screening committee before tons of escrow money, tons of public meetings, the delay of scheduling over and over again. The screening committee looks at it and says, you know what, that's a viable idea. You know what, that would work. You know what you do need to do, you need to get some engagement from the neighbors or so on. So this is before the posting of escrows, this is before the sometimes adversarial planning or zoning process starts. This project is vetted and it's discussed with the developer as to what will fly and what won't, and then goes to the appropriate agency, whether that's the planning board or the redevelopment agency, for the more formal process, at which time the developer is engaged in the project and posts his escrows and we move on. But it does it quicker, it does it more thoroughly, and it does it more engaged. In line with that, what we've continued this year, which was very successful last year, was the conducting of quarterly board chairs meetings. The zoning board, the planning board, redevelopment, and the Main Street, we meet quarterly to discuss concerns that we've had, to discuss particular problems that have come up in one board or another, and we found this to be so effective that we've actually managed to incorporate our complete streets planning into zoning applications, to discuss sustainable New Jersey in planning board applications, to have the zoning board and the planning board communicate about what projects are going on with them and what kind of trends we're seeing. And it's been very, very effective in sharing information, and the board chairs have been very satisfied with that. For 2017, I note that our zoning master plan is scheduled for review. With all of these developments, I think this is going to be a very robust view. I know that most of the time, zoning master plan review is the most dull, dry, and boring thing, but we get to incorporate affordable housing, redevelopment, complete streets, sustainable New Jersey, all these concepts that aren't in the master plan yet, that we can, and that is supposed to be our overall template for how Highland Park should grow. A shout out to Main Street Highland Park, which had a very successful year this year. Very high turnouts, record turnouts for the 5K, the street fair, and the arts in the park. Main Street has also, in line with all of the other boards and the informal meetings, has begun to look to expand events along Woodbridge Avenue to serve that area of the commercial district by attracting residents and businesses. They're also planning more downtown events as well as events on Woodbridge Avenue that are in the planning stages to showcase the growing small business presence in town. There's a changing dynamic going on, which is very exciting. Sorry, I've been shouting all day since about 9 o'clock this morning. Along with the, as I said, with the increase in information sharing among the boards, we've been able to incorporate other borough initiatives which don't traditionally fall there, but are very important into these ideas. I'm looking at 2017 as a year when things really happen to refresh its vibrant community and get boots on the street, which the merchants want, and bricks in the ground, which the tax collector wants, for the benefit of our taxpayers, residents, future residents, and merchants. I want to thank all our volunteers who have assisted. This is a very large cadre of volunteers. I once again, as I do every meeting, remind all of you who are watching or listening to come out to the meetings. These meetings are important. This is where the nuts and bolts of what your town is going to look like happen. We set policy here, but the zoning board, the planning board, redevelopment, Main Street, they're the ones who make it what it looks like every day, and they're just as important in council. And finally, I would close, Mayor. I'm sorry I've taken too long. I encourage everyone, please contribute to the Highland Park Gives a Hoot. Of all the things we do, that's the most important thing that anybody does.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your consistent contributions to HB Gives a Hoot yourself.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Hirsch?
Thank you, Mayor. I will keep it very brief, obviously. So start the egg timer now. First, I would just like to offer my respect and deep gratitude to the family of Dr. John Erickson, obviously who was reelected. The people of Highland Park entrusted themselves in Dr. Erickson, and I am very aware of the privilege that I have of sitting up here, and we will celebrate his legacy every day. Before I talk about anything else, I do have some new business, and I would like to invite everybody to the Human Relations Commission's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Awards Program on January 16th at 7 p.m. That's a Monday. The event will take place at the high school, at the Highland Park High School auditorium, and this year's honoree is our own Lieutenant Gary Penicello of the Highland Park Police Department, and he's a great recipient of this award. In fact, I think every year they honor just a fantastic recipient of this award, and he's certainly no exception. The keynote speaker this year will be Juanita Collier, who's Highland Park's most senior African-American resident, and other guests include Dr. Rabbi Esther Reed, excuse me, Doctor. She's also the senior, in addition to being a doctor, senior associate director at the Rutgers University Hillel. And for more information about this program, you may contact Human Relations Chair Ashton Burrell at Burrell, that's BURRELLHP @gmail.com. Now, it's just some personal remarks while I have this rare opportunity. Very quickly, again, thank you, Mayor Pro-Mittler. It is just an honor to serve up here, particularly after all that we've worked on together, and to be sworn in by you. It's an awesome responsibility being up here, and I can't begin to thank you enough for all the support that you've provided over the years. I also want to thank my family who was here briefly. It was bedtime, so they've been on their way. But I'm sure we will watch on YouTube again. I'm also honored to serve as council liaison for Health and Human Services, which comprises areas that, to me, I think are particularly important, not only to Highland Park, but particularly in this climate of uncertainty, in 2017 and beyond, and frankly, previously too. I look forward to working with our Housing Authority, our Board of Health, Human Relations Commission for Universal Access, and the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, and others to make sure that every resident has equal access to everything that our borough provides. And that's an important lens, I think, through which we can work. And because we have so many active and engaged volunteers on those boards and commissions, our primary job as council members will be to provide gateways for them and to create opportunities for them to achieve their goals. In addition to our boards and commissions, I'm also excited to work with our mayor and council, our police department and first responders, our local nonprofits, houses of worship, and community organizations in achieving resident empowerment and a local government that serves the needs of all residents. A few other highlights from my brief tenure from 2016 included our work on the Digital Data Task Force, which looks toward additional tax stabilization opportunities by saving administrative expenses through the digitizing of boroughs' data. That sounds wonky, but it's exceptionally important, and other towns have really led the way in those efforts with great success. Not only does it make borough operations more efficient, but it also provides additional access for residents looking for information, which is Councilman George talked about engaging residents in productive ways, and that's a really important one. I'd like to thank Highland Park resident Dr. Matthew Hale, who's a Seton Hall professor, who chairs the task force and oversees a committed group as they work to streamline the amount of time spent on filing and retrieving files, so that employees have more time to work on action items that advance that advance our town. Eventually, the task force will also work with the borough's Public Information Committee to lead effective communications as it works with the boroughs in creating a fully interactive informational experience. which I discussed. A little bit about the, Councilman Fine discussed the Housing Authority, of which I was a member. Again, we do have 124 units of affordable subsidized housing in Highland Park. Being the steward of those properties is an awesome responsibility, and our executive director, our chair, Diane Ray, and the members of the board do not take that responsibility lightly. And it's interesting, those meetings are actually some of the most well-populated meetings too, because the residents there are really tuned into what's going on, and they voice their concerns and they provide their support when necessary. So I really look forward to working with the Housing Authority in 2017. Another area that Councilman Fine actually did mention is the municipal ID program. This program, once launched, will engage the community at large, but it also provide important identification for all residents, including immigrants, children over 14, seniors, and residents new to the area. In addition to serving several practical purposes, including ensuring access to municipal services, discounts at participating stores, and other incentives, the ID will also serve as a point of community pride, which I mentioned on the passage of that ordinance, and I think that's just a really important point, and I think we'll get people excited about the program as well. Related to that is the mayor has appointed me to chair the task force on community inclusion and social equity, and we did have our first discussion in late 2016, initially working with the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice and the Working Families Alliance, and we're going to grow through there. Councilwoman Elsie Foster Dublin is integral to providing support and guidance for new council members like me, and I would like to thank her as well as your as the many projects that we've worked on over the past few years. Any actions that this task force recommends will be tailored to the borough's needs and done in cooperation with municipal agencies, departments, and boards and commissions. And that's really all I have to report right now. I thank you again for the opportunity, and I look forward to working in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council President Welkowitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Distinguished guests, staff, professionals, volunteers, and residents, thank you for joining us at our annual reorg meeting, and welcome to Highland Park 2017. I'd first like to say how incredibly grateful I am for being able. I would like to thank each of my fellow council members for their hard work, for their collective support and camaraderie. We often end our long late-night meetings with uncontrollable giggles and laughters. That is after we get the hard work done. Special thanks to our innovative mayor, whose energy and motivation is contagious. Thanks to our dedicated and talented staff, who make Highland Park their second home. Those that work and live here, I'm even more proud. Thanks to our distinguished guests, who continue to support our efforts. And lastly, we're a success because of the rare mix of amazing talent, creativity, and hard work of our many volunteers that step up to participate. Thank you all. Highland Park has long been known as a courageous little town, willing to take on difficult issues, often being first or at the forefront. New Jersey's first green community, first to ban fracking and fracking waste, first heart-healthy community. And people take note. Often other towns or counties follow suit. For the past 2 years, I've chaired the Public Works and Public Utilities Committee, which includes our Department of Public Works, Code Enforcement, Environmental Commission, Sustainable Highland Park, Shade Tree Advisory Council, and our new Safe Walking and Bicycling Committee. And we've been very busy. I'm proud to say that we've made many accomplishments, many of which are firsts. Some lay the groundwork for future improvements, and all will have long-term positive impact, keeping Highland Park the most sustainable possible and a great place to live. I started 2016 working with our new Director of Code, Scott Brescher, and we thoroughly reviewed our certificate of occupancy and basic minimum fees for new building and renovations, and compared that data to other towns. The first time these have been updated in 25 years. This allowed us to hire an additional staff member to help process the high volume of building permits we had this year and expect to have for the next couple of years. I'm happy to report that we have had no delay in turnaround time. Thank you, Scott, and the entire code enforcement team.
Special thanks to Don Risch, Public Works Department Head, and Foreman Frank Troy and Mike Wazorkowitz, who, I can never tire of saying this, together have nearly 120 years of expertise in public works. Thanks to our entire staff and crew for tending to our infrastructure, keeping us up and working and safe. And now let's talk some trash. In 2016, we expanded our automated garbage pickup, further redeploying 2 full-time crew members to work on other important tasks, such as brush trimming, leaf bag pickup, pothole repair, and general maintenance. In 2016, we collected 1,266 tons of curbside single-stream recycling, which unfortunately is a little bit down from last year. For landfill, we collected 3,469 tons of waste for the landfill, a small increase of about 1 to 2%. For bulk trash, we reduced our expenses by limiting ourselves to 5 bulk pickups, which maximized efficiency. And we were able to do this simply by planning and coordinating better with our townwide garage sale and Main Street events. We collected a total of 255 tons. Unfortunately, this is a 20% increase in tonnage from last year, and it's costly. What this signifies is that we could do a lot better with curbside recycling, and we've got a solution. We realize that recycling can be confusing. What do I do with yard debris versus leaf bag pickup versus tying sticks in no longer than 4-foot bundles? And what about all the rules for electronics? Since recycling is mandated by the state, we bring you a new customized app, Recycle Coach. It'll be released later this month. And also a new shared service with special thanks to our recycling wizard and clean communities coordinator, Foreman Frank Troy. Recycle Coach is our first app. This smartphone app will improve your access to recycling questions, information, and all pickup scheduling. You have the choice to link it to your calendar, to send you reminders of garbage, recycling, or bulk pickup days, or changes to the schedule due to holidays. A search engine allows you to search for recycling rules by material. For instance, what do I do with batteries? Simply search batteries, and it'll tell you. And there's also a fun test of your knowledge of recycling and an in-app quiz. The app also provides another very important function: reporting and communicating with the borough. Public Works doesn't always see every hanging tree limb or pothole, but this app will allow you to take a quick photo of the problem, add a description, and send it immediately to the borough for us to act on it. No selfies, please. This versatile app is paid entirely through Clean Communities grant funds and free to residents. Just ask our neighbors in New Brunswick and Woodbridge. They love it. This is an action item recommended by Sustainable Jersey, and our goal is to continue to educate and increase our rate of recyclables, cut down on landfill and the associated costs. Earlier this year, when a large vendor stopped offering electronics recycling, many towns stopped offering it too. But we quickly organized with New Brunswick and Metuchen and found another vendor, ERI, to service our communities. Clearly, our small town doesn't generate the volume for a service contract, but together we formed a shared services agreement to seamlessly continue to offer residents a drop-off electronics recycling service at absolutely no cost to us. Earlier today, I learned that the contract will be extended for 2 more years. For the first time since 1998, we are finally compliant with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. No fines, all clear. Back in 1998, we had an old oil tank removed from the Public Works lot, yet there was no record of our final filing with the agency. We have one last set of reports currently underway and due in March, and then we are clear until 2022. This year, we installed our first brine machine, which we've already started to use. We can now make and store a non-toxic slush and apply it to the street surface before weather hits. And when weather does hit the road surface, it immediately starts to melt, preventing any icy buildup, making it easier to plow and much safer for everyone. And stay tuned for the Raritan and Woodbridge Avenues tree planting for spring 2017. Usually our shade tree group manages these types of plantings, but this is a special program we've created through our Public Works Department. With special thanks to Main Street's John Webster and Rebecca Hirsch for researching the site-specific tree species to plant, funds for this new program to improve the look and feel of our main streets and welcome more foot traffic comes from our special tree fund, not tax dollars. Special thanks to Fern Goodhart and Trish Sanchez, co-chairwoman, for helping create Highland Park's new Safe Walking and Bicycling Committee. In the spring, Peter Bilton of Keep Middlesex Moving, our county transportation manager, worked with our schools, public safety, code enforcement, and our new committee to complete a comprehensive walkability study around the schools. Thanks to all who participated, especially Principal Benjamin, who is always very enthusiastic. We broke into groups and literally walked around the perimeters of our schools, documenting the needs for improvements with photos and notes. On the heels of this, in the fall, Highland Park became the first town in New Jersey to complete a bikeability study. One hot August afternoon, Highland Park was besieged with transportation experts from across the state, including the New Jersey DOT, Blaustein School of Planning, and not just Peter and Keep Middlesex Moving, but transportation managers from several counties throughout the state. They all participated in this first ever in New Jersey event. And like the walkability study, we split off in smaller groups to explore the routes within town. But this time, we were on our bikes. Both of these assessments were created to serve as base documentation for any grants we will be applying for in the future, and both were done at no cost to the borough. We have since made 2 large grant applications for infrastructure improvements, such as curb ramps, for safer walking and bicycling. Also based on these assessments, Public Works and Public Safety worked together earlier this year and created special safety striping on certain streets, at several large intersections near our schools and library, and striped additional parking at Irving School to improve neighborhood traffic congestion. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Don. Thanks to Carol Avelsgaard, Chair, and Karen Swain, Co-Chair of our Shade Tree Advisory Council. They play a vital role to ensure our annual designation as a tree city. We've been awarded this distinction for nearly the past consecutive 25 years. Each year, STAC documents our efforts to plant and replant trees, which is vital for our community's health and wellness. Just a few weeks ago, unfortunately, 2 anchor trees that were ages old in front of our high school had to be removed. Principal Lassiter and STAC have already fleshed out a plan for new tree plantings. Other plantings in town are scheduled for the Environmental Center and Native Plant Reserve. In 2016, we especially thank resident and volunteer David Tulik and his small crew for starting a well-needed tree inventory, the first in many years. They've already mapped nearly 2,000 borough trees. Special thanks to Mary Denver, Belinda Beetham, and Don Beetham for their tireless work on our native plant reserve on River Road. This year alone, they, along with volunteers from Rutgers and native plant chapters, planted about 400 native plants. And they've been the drive behind the renovation of the pump house, which they use for storage. Special thanks to DPW with assisting in the renovation and other assistance throughout the year. And very special thanks to Gary Panicella, who, in his free time, built a custom nursery to protect new plants upon arrival and house the growing of new plants. Thanks to Michael Rosenberg. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Thanks to Michael Rosenberg, Chair, and all the members of our Environmental Commission. Our Environmental Commission is tasked with reviewing all site applications, usually about 10 a year. But this year, we had special challenges with the careful review of the American Properties remediation. Special thanks go to Alan Williams, who's here in the audience, co-chair of our Environmental Commission. He sits on our planning board as liaison to the commission, and he took the lead to review and comment on no less than 75 remediation reports on the American Properties lot. And with careful further review, attention, and support of our Environmental Commission, they push for the most stringent remediation and monitoring available. Remediation began last week. In 2016, with thanks to Steve Barnes, committee member, and Craig Ambrose, who heads a team of more than a dozen hiking trail volunteers, we were awarded $6,500 to maintain our beautiful Meadows trails, provided we commit to the same in labor costs. So yes, our volunteers put in hundreds of hours of work so that we may all enjoy hiking right here in Highland Park. The trailhead begins near the foot of South 5th and Valentine, and if you would like to help, you can join the volunteers any Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. With thanks to Daniel Larkins, we also received a $1,500 grant from the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions to create our first birding program. We've already had 3 sessions. This past year, we brought back the very successful Smart Home program where residents could get a discount rate on a comprehensive home energy audit with our friends at Seal Power. They provide details of what can be improved for energy efficiency in your home, and then the resident can hire the contractor of their choice should they want to move ahead with that. In April, we held another successful Earth Day celebration with nearly 300 in attendance. More musicians and more vendors were on hand than in previous years, and each of our public schools presented exhibits as part of Sustainable Jersey for Schools. But one of the most important things we did this year was to earn that silver certificate, the highest honor from Sustainable Jersey. And not just that, but with the target to achieve 350 points, we earned over 450, the highest in our category, another first. Again, our small town can do a lot. Now, there's a ton of documentation that goes into this, and this year, for the first time, we actually had a staff member helping. Thanks to Dan Bianchini and thanks to our mayor, who from the beginning urged every department and committee to help in this townwide effort. Of course, special thanks to Chairwoman Terry Hover and the entire Sustainable team. So why is it important to get Sustainable Jersey certification? To begin with, most competitive grant applications will award you extra points for meeting certification and then for reaching silver. But the main thing here is the entire effort helps us focus on reviewing our internal processes against Sustainable Jersey's suggested best practices. From this exercise, we were able to identify certain goals to maintain and others to put in place, such as we created our first borough-wide brownfields inventory with special thanks to Christine Padagna of our Environmental Commission. She researched and compiled this important document already being used by a redevelopment agency. It helped us prioritize for our Shade Tree Advisory Council to work harder to increase our tree canopy. We also recognized the need to improve our fleet inventory monitoring to better track fuel efficiency for vehicles. And it taught us how to improve our recycling education with the new app, which I mentioned earlier, Recycle Coach. And I am extremely proud to announce tonight for the first time. In December, the Planning Board conditionally approved a proposal that Highland Park will be adding solar energy into our electric grid and upgrading our infrastructure. This is our borough's first big sustainable energy project. About a year and a half ago, I learned that PSE&G was scouting locations to install solar arrays on underutilized land. Like an old town dump site left laying fallow for nearly 50 years. I met with our borough administrator, Kathy Kovach. We discussed it and she agreed that we should pursue this. Since that time, Kathy and I, along with our mayor, members of our Environmental Commission, our Shade Tree Advisory Council, our borough engineer, thank you, Bruce, our borough planner, met with PSE&G to come up with a suitable plan for the borough lot on Donaldson between South 7th and Crowell's Road. PSE&G will absorb all costs related to installation and ongoing maintenance of a solar array. The low-profile cells, only 2.5 feet tall at maximum, will be an aesthetic improvement to the area, which has been used just for staging various construction or street debris for the past 50 years. And PSE&G will be renting the property from us, thereby paying us for that use. PSE&G will be using the facility to perform solar battery power research. You know, at about 4 or 5 p.m., when all the kids come home from school, open the back door, flip on the lights, and all the adults start coming home from work, they turn on the TV, throw in a load of laundry, start the dishwasher, all at the same time. That's peak usage time. What PSE&G will be able to do is collect solar power from the grid, store it in batteries, and at those peak times, release the stored power and let it flow into our grid. This will in turn help to stabilize our electric grid. Lastly, to reinforce our commitment to sustainable energy, we're bringing a new program to homeowners. We'll be joining Sustainable Jersey in their new pilot program with just 2 other towns in New Jersey, so another first. We'll partner with them and industry expert Energy Sage to make it easier for our residents to install solar on their homes or business buildings. You'll be able to list your home on our website, hpsolar.org, and pre-vetted contractors will bid on the chance to work on your home, assuring you a reliable contractor and best prices. You probably have received a notice in the mail announcing this program over the Christmas break. And on January 10th at 7 p.m., we'll be hosting a special event at our library, which will further introduce the program. Please join us. In closing, I'm compelled to remind us all of the importance that our community has long been a symbol of firsts, because even as a small borough with limited resources, we have smarts, will, grit, and a strong sense of community. We can, and we do collectively and regularly, act locally to successfully effect change. We can still make forward strides where our government may try to walk us back. Keep that in mind as we navigate 2017 together. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, so you now have heard in detail some of the programs that each of our council members have been working on with their committees. I want to thank all of the council members for working as hard as they did over the last year on all of these programs. Let me try to take all of this and synthesize it for you. As you know, there are 4 main categories that we have been paying attention to over the year. Tax stabilization, economic development, infrastructure, quality of life, and I'm going to add a 5th as you'll hear as I go through a summary of all of this, and that 5th is transparency and community involvement. So let's start with tax stabilization. Councilman George told you about his parking task force. He'll be presenting the findings of that task force over the next couple of months, and we are looking forward to seeing what kinds of positive cash inflow his recommendations will give to the community. Council President Welkowitz told you about PSE&G and the solar field. This solar field is going on our Upper Meadows, which is a former landfill, and we're repurposing unused land. Not only will it increase our revenue, but it'll make clean energy usage out of a contaminated site without costly cleanup. I think it was Councilman Hirsch who talked a little about the shared services, and I know Councilman Fine is looking at other shared services going forward. Sharing services with other municipalities and the Board of Ed has had a significant impact on the outflow of our expenses. Right now, we're involved in shared services with North Brunswick, Woodbridge, the Board of Ed, and as Council President Welkowitz mentioned, Metuchen and New Brunswick. You heard Councilman George talk about downtown development, and you've heard me say often that the economic future of our municipality depends on downtown development. We now have a conditional developer for one of our projects downtown. And as he told you, we now have made all of Highland Park an area in need of rehabilitation, which will expand our opportunities for smart growth in town. Our community is also growing in the way of housing as well. New developments throughout town have resulted in over $532,700 of new net tax revenue in 2016. So that is certainly proof that smart development and downtown development will have a positive effect on stabilizing our taxes. The second area we concentrate on, economic development. There were a number of new shops that opened downtown thanks to the efforts of our Main Street organization. They include a new art supply store, clothing store, vintage shops, and a mobile phone store and more. We also upheld the reputation of our downtown by passage of a massage parlor ordinance, with which Council President Welkowitz and I introduced at the League of Municipalities for adaptation in other municipalities throughout the state. This ordinance ensures the safety and character of our community and our downtown. The arts are also bringing a new life to our downtown area. As Councilman Walsh mentioned, through a unique partnership between Rite Aid Store, Rutgers University's Mason Gross School of the Arts, we are able to showcase the new artwork of Mason Gross students in a rotating exhibit on the corner of South 4th Avenue. Arts throughout the community are thriving, especially with our newly rejuvenated Arts Commission, they have been holding projects and performances and programs, most recently the storytelling and bookmaking program that was mentioned at the library. Moving into infrastructure. Highland Park has a long history, and with that history comes an older infrastructure. Like many other densely populated municipalities in New Jersey, our gas and water lines are in frequent need of repair. Recently, PSE&G started upgrading our gas lines, and they took the major roads in Highland Park. I know they did River Road and Fifth Avenue in 2016, and they'll be expanding to side streets throughout 2017 to replace the old cast iron pipes with plastic, so that we will have less breaks in our gas lines. DPW, as the council president mentioned earlier, is now using a special salt brine mixture, which will make it easier for them to clear the roads for all of us after a snowstorm. We also, as you heard, got the coveted Silver Sustainability from Sustainable New Jersey. As a tree community, because trees are part of our infrastructure, we have a new tree dedication program. Through this program, residents can honor someone by purchasing a plaque for an existing tree in town. And you can learn more about that program by visiting the borough's website at www.hpborough.com. And to ensure the safety of our residents, as Councilman George mentioned, we were able to institute several traffic calming and safety features in the upper Raritan section of our town. We've been lobbying and working with DOT to get them to reduce the speed limit in that section of town down to 35 miles an hour. There are new pedestrian crossing signs and a one-way street designation and new parking lines. Next, in the area of quality of life, We have a diverse population here in Highland Park, diverse not only ethnically, but also economically. And thank you for the mention, Councilman George, of our HP Gives a Hoot program. We were able to serve over 400 lunches to children during the year when school was not in session. We were also able to send 10 students to our HP Recreation Camp and 4 high school students to the Youth Roots Mentorship Sleepaway Camp last summer. And the Highland Park ID cards were mentioned by both Councilman Fine and Councilman Hirsch. These ID cards are available to all residents of Highland Park, including undocumented residents, and they are good for municipal services, including the library, food bank, and recreation, and more. I also appointed a new refugee immigrant task force. There's been a lot of talk about sanctuary cities, but here in Highland Park, we don't want to just talk and give names to things. We want to have action, to move to make our refugees and immigrants more easily integrated into our community. And that is what the Refugee and Immigrant Task Force is going to be addressing. The new Highland Park Teen Center that Councilwoman Foster Dublin mentioned, we've broken ground on that, and it will be available to all Highland Park teenagers. Right now, we're at a point of getting some specs from our engineers. Thank you, Bruce, and CME. And once they are in, we will be going out to bid on construction of the building. Our police department hired 3 new officers this year to better serve our residents. And they continue to work on open community meetings on specific topics. Our seniors always remain a priority for us, and aging in place is a real possibility in Highland Park. Thanks again to Kim and the rest of the staff over at the Senior Center. We also got a full-time driver this year so that we're able to take our seniors on more rides to doctors and shopping and also on trips. And as you know, healthy living is very important to me. Once again this year, all our residents were invited to join me on a weekly walk with the mayor in the spring, summer, and fall. And now that the weather's changed, we are doing yoga with the mayor on Thursday mornings at 7:30 at Kinetics, so I hope you'll join us. The class has been growing. It's been very active. And our recreation department has also been continuing to offer healthy sports programs for our youth and our adults. And I want to thank Andrea and her team for all of their work. Thank you. Finally, the Highland Park Library offers programs for all of our citizens that are informative and entertaining. And finally, into the last area that I mentioned, transparency and resident involvement. Many of you know it's a priority to us to be open and transparent. And I aim to embolden our residents to volunteer and participate in the municipal government. One thing you can do is come to our Park Partners Community Grant Program voting session, which is scheduled for February 12th. This is actually the 4th year we've run our Park Partners Grant Program, and we have more grant submissions than ever before. So please join us February 12th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Senior Youth Center, so you can vote on the projects you think should get the grants this year. We've also held a number of open public meetings on key topics, such as area in need of rehabilitation and the Buckwoods project. I want to thank all the residents that showed up to those meetings to give us their input and to listen to what the borough had to say. So you've heard about many projects, and we've completed many of them this year. This is just the beginning. I look forward to our continued progress and development in the coming year and encourage everyone to get involved and participate in our many programs and volunteer opportunities. Working together, we can make 2017 a landmark year in Highland Park. Thank you. Okay, who's keeping track of the timing? How'd I do?
You were the second longest. Want to guess who was the first?
Oh, Josh won?
won. He was the shortest.
Okay. Okay. Yes. May I have a motion to spread this message upon the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the following consent agenda items? 1/1704 through 1/1736.
Motion to adopt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
24, you're right.
24. 24, not all of these.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Number 36.
36, yeah.
That's what I thought.
No, no. I have to say 117.
117.
Number 36 is 1/1724. Okay, so let me rephrase that for everyone. May I have a motion to adopt the following consent agenda items from 117-04 through 11724?
So moved. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay. I am reestablishing the Mayor's Wellness Campaign Committee, Community Emergency Response Team, Parking Review Task Force, and Sustainable Highland Park. I am appointing the following to serve as professionals in 2017. Borough Attorney Edwin Schmier, Tax Appeal Attorney Martin Allen, Labor Attorney Arthur Thibault, Borough Auditor Andrew Hodgelik, Borough Prosecutor Patrick Bradshaw, Bond Counsel Willentz, Goldman, and Spitzer, Public Defender Francesco Taddeo, Borough Engineer David Samuel, Borough Planner James Constantine, Special COA Attorney Jeffrey Serenian, Special Planner Philip Caton. May I have a motion to confirm?
Motion to confirm.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
I'm appointing the following: Deputy Court Administrator Linda Simons, Deputy Borough Clerk Jennifer Santiago, ADA Coordinator Lieutenant Gary Panicella, Library Board of Trustees Council Rep Joshua Fine. Motion to confirm above appointments.
Motion to confirm.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
I abstain.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
I am appointing the following: my Planning Board designee, Pedrick Millay. Library Board of Trustees, Mayor's alternate, Helen Rovner. I'm appointing the following: Board of Health, Laurel Kornfeld, Jesse Crossan. Cable TV Advisory Committee, Carl Wilson. Library Board of Trustees, Ghislaine Dardan and Bruce Tucker. CDBG Advisory Committee, Joshua Fine, Edward Prince, Sheila Highsmith, Cheryl Magaziner, Rebecca Hirsch, Gwen Sarasoli, and Deborah Morgan. Emergency Management Council, Thomas Hamill, Linda Hoffler, Kathleen Kovach, Donald Risch, Scott Brescher. Commission for Universal Access, Tara Canavera, Chair, Diane Feldman, and Lieutenant Gary Panicella. Community Food Pantry Committee, Janice Ballou, Monica Day, Andrea Greenberg Horowitz, Susan Powell, Laurel Kornfeld, Lynn Platt, Carly Andrews, Susan McKinnon, Deborah Convery, Bruce Bush, Evelyn Sedahi, Nancy Lord, Sylvia Hove, Miriam Lefkowitz as an alternate, and Kathy Lombardi as an alternate. For the Council on Aging, Ramona Rosas, Leila Guzman, Gert Gare, alternate 1, and Dee Donnelly, alternate 2. Recreation Advisory Committee, Mickey Landis, Jerry Aversa, Bob Butters, Debbie Heer, Kenneth Haskins, Kathy Pace, Donald Gatling, Jay Weinberg, Stephen Mittler, Gary Potts, Tara Canavera, and Nick Kambitsis. Shade Tree Advisory Committee, Carol Avelsgaard, Eileen Coffey, Roseanne Calla, Karen Swain, Belinda Beetham, Mary Denver, Roseanne Baru, Marianne Allard, Christine Best, Joshua Best, Marion Sakrowitz, and Paul Sawyers. Employee Safety Committee, Leanne Cosley Richardson, Stephen Rizko, Donald Risch, Ed Corson, Renee George, Jay Littman, Brian O'Mara, Kim Perkins, Shane Santalucia. Digital Data Task Force, Matthew Hale, Shane Santalucia, Joan Hullings, Dan Bianchini, Chaim Cohen, Mike Schaffler, Jennifer Senick, Keith Peckman. Municipal Alliance, Laura Arp, Lisa Berman, Irene Marks, Maria Austin, Kim McGraw, Reverend Seth Capperdale, and Patrolman Jose Carbello. Ethics Board, Jordan Siegel. May I have a motion to confirm?
Motion to confirm.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
I'm appointing the following to the Mayor's Wellness Campaign Committee: Dr. Cliff Lacey, David Siegman, Justin Futterman, Patrolman Gaetano Palumbo, Donald Kaur, Michelle Kornblum. Sustainable Highland Park, Josephine Terry Hover, Irene Chan Marks, Alan Williams, Tina Weishaus, Andy Benesh, Hagit Mano, Randy Solomon, Wendy Rosen, Alexander Casey, Nicole Wines, Sophia McDermott, Ellie Goldstein, student member, Matt Schrager, student member. Planning Board, Scott Brescher. Community Emergency Response Team, Joanne Joseph, Alyssa Kaplan, Pamela Plastock, Brian Duche, Roberto Munoz, Shari Larson, Paul Scharf, Susan Winter, David Larson, Bruce Nadler, Ann Cheryl White, Nancy Wolf. Parking Review Task Force, Marika Levinson, Jeff Ackerman, Paul Linares, Lieutenant Gary Panicella, Donald Risch, Scott Brescher. Environmental Commission, Michael Rosenberg, Laurel Kornfeld, Steve Barnes, Christine Patagna as alternate 1. May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to appoint council representative to Planning Board Susan Welkowitz?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Abstain.
May I have a motion to adopt or reject a resolution designating council representative to Middlesex County CDBG Committee Joshua Fine?
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
I abstain.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt or reject a resolution to adopt the 2017 municipal and water and sewer temporary budgets?
Motion. Motion to adopt?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Walsh?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay, is there any public discussion?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Herb Gross, and I live at Adelaide Gardens. This past couple of weeks, my parent organizations, the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, have just released applications for any veteran, regardless of what town you live in. If you want these applications, if over the years you have lost your discharge or your medals, these applications are available to you. If you want an application, you can call our commander right here in Highland Park, Commander William Young, at 732-995-7501. And if you can't get Commander Young, you can call me at my number, 732-379-7302. These applications are available to any veteran, regardless of what town you're in. I would like to pass my comments to all the council members. I personally appreciate the work that you people have done in your own chosen fields, but what bothers me very much, I would like to see the council members give more recognition to the residents who have brothers and sisters serving in these war-torn countries, protecting the freedom that each and every one of us enjoy. These are my brothers and sisters. I serve with them, and I know what each family's gone through. I've talked to many families here in Highland Park, and what bothers me, and what bothers a lot of residents here, is that I listen to all the council members give their report, which I accept, but I don't hear anybody giving recognition to the veterans of all these families here in Highland Park. The veterans, my brothers and sisters, are overseas right now protecting the freedom that each and every one of us enjoy. And as I said once before, and many times before, let freedom ring. I would like to see the council members give more recognition to all the veterans in Highland Park and everywhere. I know that a lot of you council members have family members that are veterans. your fathers, your grandfathers, and I recognize this, and I recognize you as veterans. We, the veterans, we take care of our veterans. We keep our children close. We keep our grandchildren close. We keep our enemies even closer. Thank you very much, and have a very happy New Year to each and every one of you.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
This meeting is adjourned.